What's up, guys? Welcome back to Road to the Two Comic Club. Once again, it is late at night, getting ready to go to bed, but I was doing my research on some articles, some really interesting news actually going on, despite, the market's still not doing great, but it's hanging in there. And I didn't get a chance to look at the stocks much today at all, but I think we did close up for the day, so I'll post some screenshots. Our top gainers were Stamps.com, Universal Display, Weight Watchers. In fact, the two covered calls that we sold are like less than 50 cents away from being in the money. So bad news is we might lose our shares this week, but good news is at least we're making money on our stock and our options. So I'll talk about the silver lining that might exist there at the end of this video. But the losers, we had Sprint, Activision, Roku. They were down double digits, each one of those. But let's talk about some news because I was actually quite excited about what I read. And some of it's I've already kind of read before in other articles, and it was also my opinion, but we're just gonna revisit this because I just am excited. One, Universal Display, they just received ISO 14001 2015 certification, which has to do with them being environmentally friendly, so that was good news. Let's come back to Universal Display though, because I want to talk about Stamps.com. I missed this, but on February 27th, they announced a new CTO, Jonathan Bourgeois? I can't pronounce it. I think it's a French last name, I think, maybe. But he was previously served as VP and CTO at Mattel, the toy company. And before that, he was an SVP of operations at ubet.com, which I believe is an online gambling site, like poker or whatever. I was trying to look it up online, but didn't see much of it. Anyways, so that's good. Stamps doing really well. Last quarter earnings were pretty good, so I'm really bullish on them still. Let's go to Weight Watchers. Oprah sold about 25% of her stake this past month for about 8 to 9 times what she paid. On October 2015, as I mentioned before, not that specific date, but I have mentioned before that she bought 10% of the company, but she bought it at $6.79 a share. So she received options to buy another 5% at $6.97 a share, which she just exercised earlier this month, buying more than 1.4 million shares. And Weight Watchers is closed at over $60, $61 a share. So she made a killing on that, and she sold about 2 million shares and made $110 million. That's just phenomenal. Good for you, Oprah. You're just getting even more rich. But hey, she earned it. I mean, she did a lot of work to help bring that brand back in the spotlight. So kudos to her. Okay, back to Universal Display. So I read this article talking about 3 growth stocks that could be really good investments for growth investors. I'm just going to read what I wrote down because I just wrote some quotes. They said that growth stocks are often priced to absolute perfection. Growth stocks meaning companies that are expected to grow and jump a lot in stock price, not necessarily value stocks, which are solid companies with good earnings that have a good value. They're kind of a little different in that way. For example, Universal Display is a growth stock because people expect it to just explode in the future, grow a lot in price because of what they're doing. But they said, hold on one second, my arm's getting tired. All right, so like I was saying, so they're priced to absolute perfection. Even the smallest trip or fall can trigger a huge drop, which is what happened in February. They're down 30% on the year so far, but they said that their soft guidance is just a matter of timing. Sometimes the hardware producers refocus on upgrading their manufacturing processes because it's a cyclical industry, the OLED industry is what they're saying, and they spend money upgrading their infrastructure rather than maxing out their production volumes with their aging equipment and processes. So sometimes instead of focusing on production, they're focusing on building up their infrastructure so that they can produce more in the future. And that's what's happening in 2018, they're saying. Universal Display expects that the OLED industry's annual production capacity to grow 50% larger over the next 2 years. And so he finished the article by saying that it's trading lower for all the wrong reasons. A brief respite in 2018 should be followed by another multi-year streak of rampant growth in 2019 and beyond. That's what the article said. That would be just amazing. The PE ratios stand at near multi-year lows, and Universal Display's revenues and EBITDA profits have never been healthier. So that is amazing. They're saying it's basically a low risk, high reward stock right now. That's what they're saying. So back to the silver lining, we might lose our 200 shares of stock, even though we just purchased 100 shares recently, but that could be a silver lining because with that sale of stock, I can afford some more 2020 calls, and that could just be the best option, I think, for us to get going forward. It could provide us the most return while lowering the risk. I mean, obviously the lowest risk would just be owning the stock and selling covered calls, but the return is just not that great. It's still good. It's not bad, but I'm trying to do like hyper kind of growth because, you know, I mentioned before, I'm trying to get some things for my family. I want to buy some stuff. And so I'm trying to get some, you know, triple digit growth. I think if I could do the 2020 calls, that should help give us a good opportunity to do that over the next couple years instead of just holding the stock and collecting the dividends, which are pretty small. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see what happens with Universal Display. So if you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and share with your friends and all that. Thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, so if we do lose our shares tomorrow, I will definitely be getting some 2020 calls, so stay tuned for that. Hope you guys had a great night, and we will see you tomorrow.